Hello, Brick Sculptors, and welcome to Brick Sculpt. This is Chris, and boy, do I have a challenge for you. What is the most impossible Lego thing to build? Well, I'm sure we can get a lot of different answers for that, but there's one that I've been really wanting to take on, and so I'm going to do it. That is the Rubik's Cube. Now, I haven't told you guys this, but a few months ago, I spent about 3 nights awake trying to figure out a Lego Rubik's Cube. I gave it the solid college try, and I failed. And I am by no means the first person to ever attempt to build a Lego Rubik's Cube. In fact, there's some notable ones out there. Puzz Lego is very well known for their Rubik's Cube, and I think it's probably the best example you're going to find out there. He is a Lego YouTuber, and his videos are pretty good on the Lego Rubik's Cube. Now, he did complete a Lego Rubik's Cube, but it's not exactly perfect. It doesn't stay together. It's very fragile, but I would say it's probably the most notable, best quality one I've seen. If you've seen something better, let me know in the comments. I'll take a look. But I want to take this on for myself. So I just dove in without looking at any videos, without doing any research, and just tried it. That's how I like to do things. I know it's kind of backwards. Most people like to do some research first. I like to do it that way because my philosophy is always garbage in, garbage out. So if you go off somebody else's work, take a look at theirs. If they're doing it wrong, that's going to be in my head, and I'm going to want to do what they did. And I'm always going to resort back to what they did. I want to do it my way first, and then look at what they did, and then compare. Now, I don't have the original cube I did, but about 6 months ago, I tried one, and these are some pieces of it. And it didn't work out. I will show you a couple pictures here that I did take, and you can see kind of the workings of it. It got kind of close, but it wasn't great. It was very fragile. I don't think I ever completed a full one to where it would stay together, but I got some of the motions down. I got some of the pieces looking good, but it was far from perfect. And we will talk about what these different pieces are and how this works. But let's talk about kind of what we could build. Now, the holy grail of Lego Rubik's Cubes would look like this, where it is perfectly aligned, 9 by 9, just like that. They call it a 3 by 3 cube. That would be the holy grail. This is obviously just a demonstration cube here. This doesn't move, but that would be the holy grail. What I would also find acceptable, what most people build, including Puzz Lego, is something like this, where it has one additional layer to give you a little bit more height to work with. I would find that acceptable if it was strong and had smooth motion, but I don't know that I'll be able to do it even with that. So those are kind of the objective here, and that's what I tried to build. That's what these pieces were from. You know, with this one here, you can see that would these would be replaced with tiles, and it would basically turn into this design if it were successful, which it was not. This one has an additional layer and would be more like this design. It was also unsuccessful. This is a corner piece. This is an edge piece. I'll go into those in a little more detail here, but I wanted to kind of back up and first of all figure out how to build one. Now, one common misconception with Lego is that bigger equals harder. I would personally say it's the complete opposite. Bigger is more complex, more expensive, more time-consuming, but I also think it's easier because you have a lot more material and room to work with. Lego doesn't like small things and small spaces. You're very restricted to how small you can build. So smaller things and cramming a lot of complex moving mechanisms into this small cube is very difficult. So I wanted to back up and build a larger one first, and then we'll work my way into the smaller one once I had the concept down. Let me show you how far I've gotten. So the first thing you have to do to build a Rubik's Cube is you have to build the core. And the core looks something like this. This one I have messed with a few times, and I've got it really good now. It's not perfect, but it's definitely good, and it's probably what I'll end up using for this Rubik's Cube. Now for this one, the squares are going to be 4 by 4s, so it's going to be a cubed version of this. But I think it'll be a lot easier to figure out the mechanism with a larger cube as opposed to a smaller one. So this is built around a central core, and this core I actually think turned out really nice. I used these individual brackets so I could stagger them and have them come from opposite directions to get a really sturdy core. The more sturdy and the less slop you have in all your connections, the better chance of having a successful cube, in my opinion. So this has some Technic pieces. I also ran a bar down the middle just to make this a little more rigid. It would only connect on this side with these pieces here. It would not connect into this one, so it has to go short of that. It has a little wiggle there. But it's definitely a good design, and I think it's a good start. I also incorporated these new Sculpt pieces because they do have the Technic cross in it. And so that's my core. I should also mention that building a Lego Rubik's Cube, it's very helpful to have a firm knowledge of LDU because you need to be very careful with how everything lines up, because if it doesn't line up perfectly, it's not going to work. So that's my core, and I need to build out from there. Next, I had to build edges. So this is what I would call an edge. And an edge's job is to go in between two sides of the core like that. And it has to be able to rotate. That's why it has these rounded pieces holding it together. Now this was my first design of edge, and I did have to improve on it a little bit because this was just these bumps here, these studs were in the way. So I do have a newer rendition of this, which looks like this. And very similar, but a little different design here with the snot pieces and smooth in the middle so that I can run the next piece in here. So that's an edge. And then next you need a corner. A corner would be something like this. And the corner's job is to have two edges like this. And then your corner has to fit in there. Now the tricky thing with the corner is getting it to interact with these edges. So these are just connected here in a corner, but there's no mechanism here. So I had to build a mechanism, and this is what I came up with. And yes, it looks super complex because it is super complex. There's a lot going on here, and I'm going to take this apart to kind of show you how I built this. But the job of this is to be able to contact and overlap with these sides so that it doesn't pull out. It has to have that overlap, but also be able to rotate in all three of these directions. Now this is kind of a non-conventional setup here. I initially built this using these, but the curve didn't allow it to rotate. With this curve, it rotates, but it's loose. And I'll show you in the end when I put it all together. But the way this is built, let's see here. How do I take this apart? So this is something I like to call a super Travis brick, which is basically two of these multi-sided snot pieces back to back. And it allows you to connect on every side. You do still have a negative side, an anti-stud side, but if you're creative with it, you can work around that. So I created this, and then basically what I do on the negative side, I do that. These ribs are not important, but I used them because I didn't want to use a whole ton of plate. So having those 2/3 pieces was really helpful. And then connecting around here like this, I created this shape here. And then filling in as much space as possible. I'm not positive on this, but I think it's going to be helpful. The less empty space in here, the less slop you're going to have, and the more surfaces it has to contact and rotate on. So I'm trying to fill up as much space as possible. I think that's going to be one of the keys to success in this project here. But anyway, here we have some more snot magic going on, where we just have another super Travis brick, and then I did kind of a three-way rotational here with these plate modifieds to give us a little bit more connection points. So basically built that out around there. And again, this is mostly just filler, but having a good knowledge of LDU is very helpful for stuff like this. And that creates a corner. Now, how many do we need? 12 of these and 8 of these. And I just so happen to have 12 of these. And I just so happen to have 8 of these. Now we have to put it together. Now I'm going to tell you up front, this is not complete. It's a start of a concept. It's made some good progress, but it is not done. I am continually working on this, and I will do more videos as the progress gets better, and or as I make progress. I'm also going to put a channel up on Discord, much like we did with the obelisk, because that was just so much fun, and so many people got so involved in it. I want to put a channel up on the Discord server where people can put in their ideas, and maybe we can work through this one together, because I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it on my own. But anyway, here we have a corner piece. We surround it by edges, so you kind of slide the edges in, and they hold on to the core. Get this back over here. And your corners grab onto those edges. And we're just going to work our way around the core, and it's going to be very flimsy until the very end, and then it's going to be just kind of flimsy. It needs work, trust me. This will slide in here. This will slide in here. I'm going to get you a close-up here of the inner workings so you can see a little better what's going on in there. And you can see most of that space is taken up, and there's a lot going on in there. And there's a lot of things you have to keep in mind when you're building this. You know, the goal of this, once all these pieces are in here, is this is supposed to be able to rotate like that. And you have to be mindful of these bars for the core. You have to be mindful of the height of these, the curve of this, the contact. That all plays into it. You can see I can actually rotate this. It's not going super smooth. It's starting to take itself apart. But it does have movement to it, and it will get a little stronger when I put the top layer on. But again, this is a prototype. This is a work in progress. But I figure if I can't build a 4x4, I have no chance in building a 2x2 sided one. So let's see what we can do. All right, for our top layer, this one you got to do a little bit of a balancing act until you have most of the pieces in. I always start with this top one off because that's the last piece that holds it all together. And there you can really see a lot of the inner workings there. All right, and then the final plate, and it is together. Now, it's not a working model yet. If I'm careful with it, I can pick it up. I can even rotate it, and it stays together. I can spin each layer to a certain degree before it starts to get sloppy. So I could do something like that, but I am starting to get some loose parts here. It's not perfect. So about 6 days of killing my brain on this, 3 days 6 months ago and 3 days just now, this is as far as I've gotten. And I'm not done. I will continue. But let's go ahead and see what you guys can do. I hope you guys like this video. I hope you like the idea of this project. And hopefully together we can work through this one and maybe do something that might be considered impossible. Well, that's all I have for this time. I hope you guys like this video. If you have any questions, please leave them below. I'll do my best to answer them. If you like this video, please like and subscribe and do more just like this in the future. That's all I have for this time, and we will see you next time.